A message to kids who are bullied out there. Now, before I get into today's video though, please do subscribe, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when I come up with more videos. I normally talk about mental health, psychology, relationships, etc. But today's video is going to be near and dear to my heart because when I was in high school and middle school, I was severely bullied. And I don't want this to be like a victim video because that's not the goal of this. It's not that, because I truly believe I could have stopped it if I had the right kind of belief in myself or had the right kind of actions, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, bullying, first of all, it's not to be condoned by anyone. Bullying is absolutely wrong. But I'll say this, when kids get bullied in life, it becomes an opportunity to do something different. It becomes an opportunity to better ourselves. And if I had a son one day, that's what I would tell him. I would say, first of all, I'd want my son to be in some sort of martial arts, whether it's Muay Thai or Jiu-jitsu or something like that, and to give themselves the opportunity to do something about it if it happens. And I'll get into why in a second. But when I was in high school, for example, I was bullied by a lot of kids because of how I talked. I tried to fit in with other kids, and it just didn't really go too well because I had severe anxiety. I had no belief in myself. I was extremely awkward, and those are the kind of kids who get made fun of. And so, when I was in high school, instead of like trying to deal with my tormentors in the morning, I would go off to the bleachers by the football stadium and just kind of sit by myself so that I wouldn't have to deal with them. And unlike that kid, the 9-year-old kid who was a dwarf, like he had the ability to show his emotions to his mother and to people. But I didn't do that. I just stuffed it. And I didn't tell anyone. Maybe because I was embarrassed and I didn't want to come off as like what I perceived as be a weakling. So I didn't talk about it. But it was certainly detrimental to me. It was certainly something that really hurt me. And I just didn't show it because I thought it was weak to show it. I'm not saying it is weak to show it, but I thought it was. And so, eventually, as time went by, the bullying stopped after I left high school, and I was not around the same old kids anymore that were doing it. Like, it became cool to make fun of me. Right? People would always make fun of how I talked, and it was easy to get a laugh if you made fun of me, because I didn't defend myself. I never defended myself. I never told them to shut the fuck up. I never told them to get the fuck out of here. I never punched them in the face. There was no consequences I gave to the kids who were doing that to me. And granted, there are people today that have apologized to me since for doing those things, but it certainly absolutely hurt. And now I want to get into like what I would say to my son or someone I know or cared about if this happened to them. It's like, first of all, I want to convey to them that to have the proper belief in themselves first. And to tell the kids, like, shut the fuck up. Like, stop being such an asshole. But have the belief in ourselves to do that. Have the belief in yourself to do that if you're a kid who's being bullied right now. It's like, what's the worst that can happen? Is that they just keep on talking more shit? But it's like, do you even really want to be friends with kids? Because a lot of people, they want to be friends with their tormentors because sometimes the tormentors are the popular kids. But it's like, do you really want to be friends with someone who's like that? And so, once I got that point through, it would be like, if someone's continually giving you shit, it's like, tell them to shut the fuck up. Tell them to get the fuck out of here. Tell them something. But be assertive and mean it. And I'd really want to help like a kid of mine to be that way. And again, if you're listening to this, and this is you, it's like, guess what? I get it. I've been there. And a lot of times you might have anxiety. You might be extremely awkward. You might not really have much of a belief in yourself. But there's things to do about that, right? There are absolutely things you can do about that work. Sometimes it's like psychiatric medicines. Sometimes it's supplements. Sometimes it's listening to positive self-talk. But it can absolutely do something different. But if all else fails, when you tell someone to shut the fuck up, and you try to tell them that, don't let it bother you. And I know it's so hard to listen to that advice. It's so hard because when the kids are younger, they want the approval of the popular kids. They want the approval of people around. And so telling them to not care what other people think, It's so hard. It really is. I'm 34 years old, and I feel like I'm just getting it now. So, like, when a kid's in single digits or in high school, it's like, man, it's got to be really tough. And I feel for them. And another video is going to be made about the kids who do the bullying and the parents of those kids, because that's a whole different story. But no matter what happens to us, like, there's an opportunity to be better. And I always remember Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. He was imprisoned at Auschwitz concentration camp. He lost his wife. He lost his parents, I think, too. And he was able to say and come out with the knowledge after being imprisoned at Auschwitz that the Nazis could take away all of his freedoms except for one: the freedom for him to choose how he would respond in any given situation. So, again, if I had a kid, or any of you kids out there, you're in trouble, and you're getting bullied, and they're not listening to you when you tell them to, like, go fuck off and do whatever, it's like, violence. I would say certainly punch them in the face. Because there's certain things that people respect on the schoolyard, etc. And when, say, a kid runs home to their mom and dad and tells their parents, and then they tell teachers and school administrators, and the bullying stops from that, it might stop the bullying, but it doesn't garner the respect of the schoolyard kids. Like, they think, oh, that kid just stopped, we had to stop bullying him because he was such a baby and told his mom, blah, blah, blah. But, like, if it was my son, I would say, I'd want him in Jiu-jitsu, I'd want him in Muay Thai / boxing, and if, at the last resort, if bullying doesn't stop, I would tell them to choke him out or punch him in the face, using the least amount of force necessary. And maybe that is the only language that certain people understand, especially bullies, right? So, in the perfect world, there would be no bullies. In the perfect world, all the parents would teach their kids accordingly, and they would not become bullies. And in the perfect world, kids would really respect the kid that had the courage to tell their parents or guardians that they were being bullied. And then they would tell the administrators, and it would stop. But this is not the perfect world. In the perfect world, that would all apply. But since this is not the perfect world, like, you punch some kid in the face because he bullies you, they're going to remember that. Some people only remember physical pain. And then guess what it's also done? It's garnered the respect of the rest of the schoolyard in a way that having teachers and administrators come down and tell you bullying is wrong could never do. And that's a fact. You punch a kid in the face or you choke them out, you've earned their respect because now they fear you. And it's just like in Bronx Tales, better to be loved or feared. The mob boss Sonny would always say, it's better to be feared because fear lasts longer than love. And if they fear you, they're certainly not going to be bullying you. That's for goddamn sure. And I don't like the victim mentality of some of this stuff too. It's like if a kid's getting picked on a lot, like I said, it'd be great if just being assertive and telling them to go away or laugh it off, that's another way to cope with it. Like, if it doesn't work, yeah, punch them in the face, choke them out. That's what works. That's what garners some people's respect. And if you're a parent of a kid that your kid got punched because he was bullied, I'm not sorry. I'm sorry. I would tell my kid to do that every day and twice on Sunday if your kid doesn't fucking listen. Because more often than not, it's probably because you as the parent, you don't fucking tell your kid no. You don't have any discipline. You let them get away with everything. You're the kind of parent that thinks that the kid could do no wrong, and that when they get in trouble in school, it's the teacher's fault. It's everyone's fault except for your kid. And yeah, that kid deserves to get punched. And I don't care. It's not politically correct, but even my mom used to say it to us as kids. Like, hey, when we try to talk to you, you don't listen. But when you hit you, you do. And kids in the schoolyard are no fucking different. And so, yeah, if you're a kid out there being bullied, yeah, it fucking sucks. Yeah, it's extremely painful. Yeah, it hurts to be on the outside looking in of all those people. Because, yeah, the popular kids have a little clique, and there's like a bubble of people that kind of like are a part of it. And then there's like the kids like me who were extremely awkward. The kids like me who had a lot of anxiety. The kids like me who couldn't roll with the punches. The kids like me that just had no belief in themselves. And there's a lot of kids out there like that. And it's tough for them. And I get it. I certainly get it. And I get it. I used to have fantasies of harming the individuals that did this to me. Because I couldn't stand up for myself. I became an easy target, like I said. And I would have fantasies about punching them all in the face. Or bashing their brains in. And it felt good. But I stuffed it for a long time. I stuffed it for a long time because I wasn't comfortable showing certain emotions. I wasn't comfortable showing aggression. And if I can go back and do it again, I would have went to Jiu-jitsu. I would have went to Muay Thai. Learn how to defend myself. Because not only is it just the violence part that works, it's the belief in yourself and the confidence you get from knowing how to defend yourself. It's another level. Like if you can kick some kid's ass with Muay Thai and Jiu-jitsu, you're going to gain people's respect. They're not going to fuck with you anymore. And I get it. Some people aren't athletic either, so this is even harder for them. But there's ways to do it. And it works. Those things do work. It's not politically correct, but they work. And regardless, though, usually bullies pick on the weak. They pick on the people who can't defend themselves verbally or physically. And so I want any kid I would have to be able to stand up for themselves, have a good solid belief in themselves, be assertive, to try not to care too much what other people think. And I know that's so hard, especially when kids are kids, because they care more than anyone what other people think. But like I saw that story the other day, and I don't think being the victim is the right way to think about it. Like, if that dwarf kid was my son, I'd want to sit him down and say, listen, I know exactly how that is. It fucking sucks. But, like, I want to get you to a point where you feel like you're worth something. You're going to learn how to radically respect yourself. And first and then eventually love who you are. And, yeah, when people are a little different, it can certainly be harder to learn to like yourself and then eventually love yourself. But that's what I want to teach them. And I'd say, listen, go to Jiu-Jitsu. Go to some Muay Thai and get a community of people that are not going to be dickheads. Because that's the cool thing about people who do martial arts. They're usually not dickheads. And in fact, they really take the people who are trying to better themselves. And they like them. And they try to help them along. And so that too will build confidence for people. And, you know, the kid that was getting bullied would learn some jiu-jitsu, learn some Muay Thai. And maybe the next time that shit would happen, if they were assertive and the talking wouldn't help and didn't do anything, maybe they put him in a freaking armbar, or they choke him out, or they punch him in the face. And it doesn't happen again. I've heard a lot of examples of that's how it goes. That words didn't work, but violence did. And look at countries. It works on the country scale. Look at World War II. Look at World War I. Look at Vietnam. Like, in wars, sometimes that's the only thing that works. It's not the perfect world, but it's reality. And I only like to work with reality because that's what really matters. So, that's my video today about bullying. Like I said, I didn't realize how much it would hurt me, the bullying I went through. So when people would laugh, because people would laugh at me all the time in high school, even to this day, if I hear a group of dudes laughing, I get like a little PTSD from it. I remember back to high school, because 9 times out of 10 when kids would laugh, they'd be laughing at me in high school. And I know some people might say that doesn't sound right. That's unrealistic. It wasn't that way. But it was that way. 99% of the time it was that way. And it sucked. And so when I hear people laughing today still, it brings me right back to that spot. And I hate it. And so I also don't like big group gatherings. I don't like multiple guy friends. I like being with people one-on-one because people wouldn't bully me one-on-one. It was only groups of people that would bully me. So, that's all I have today. If you've been bullied out there, please let me know below. I would give you some free counseling, free coaching sessions if you want to try to get better with your issue. This is important to me. And more important than money. So, yeah, if you're a parent out there and you have a kid that's getting in trouble like this, getting bullied, send them to me, and I would help them. And if you're a kid listening, you're being bullied right now, come to me. I'll help you to get a better belief in yourself. I'll help you to be more assertive. I'll help you to radically respect yourself, to practice radical self-respect. Free of charge. Because this stuff is serious. Some people will shoot up schools over it. Some people hang themselves over it or shoot themselves in the face. This is no laughing matter. And I get it, because I've had all of those thoughts too. So it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. But with that, thanks for watching, and hopefully this video can help someone. Thank you.